We come from and live on land considered sacred by indigenous people known as Bannock, Paiute, Shoshone, and many other tribes that lived here sustainably for thousands of years. We strive to understand and reframe our responsibilities to land, to community. In the spirit of respectful reciprocity, we honor the original caretakers of this place. We affirm the relationships we have to each other, including our relations to animals and insects that inhabit the water, land, and sky. We recognize the relationship, the responsibility to quiet creeks, rushing rivers, rustling grasses, to sprawling forests, to the brilliant palettes of the sky, to the roots that grip the soil, to the earth beneath our feet. Water is life. To all of us affected by the boarding school revelations, may we be granted compassionate understanding. May we find healing in the harm that lives in our history. We honor and support the right to sovereignty for our indigenous neighbors. We acknowledge that a land acknowledgement is not enough. Now, let us breathe together. Let us take a moment to enjoy the delicious air, the oxygen provided by tree. Hold to the warm light of sun. Consider the solidity, the groundedness of earth. Flow with refreshing, life-giving water. Let the mud settle. Find clarity of mind and spirit. Welcome our ancestors. Enjoy this present moment together.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Sara LaWall. It is my great honor to serve this beloved community. Welcome to worship this morning. We have a new configuration here. I'm realizing, I feel like my head is like, woo. It's really cool though. I like it, and I'm curious to hear how it feels for all of you this morning. You like it? Yes, clapping. I want to take a moment. It's been a while since we've acknowledged Tom Neal, who crafted those beautiful land acknowledgement words that we just experienced. Thanks so much, Tom. It's really lovely. We are a community gathered to nurture spiritual growth, deep connection, and faithful action for a better world. If that call speaks to your heart, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I want to take a moment to make a special welcome to those joining us virtually online. I'll invite us to turn around and wave. We are so glad that you are with us out there worshiping together, reminding us that we are connected beyond the walls of this sanctuary. If you are seeking something larger than yourself, or are in search of your own heart, you are welcome here. If you believe that all religions of the world are right and true, but none is entirely right or true, nor does any religion have a corner on the market of truth, you are welcome here. If you believe each of us has to seek the truth in the possibility of science and religion coexisting together, you are welcome here. And I want to take a moment to let you sink into those words this morning, because particularly in this moment in time, in this state, when white Christian nationalists are converging and worshiping on our Capitol steps this very afternoon, those are powerful words to hear in a church sanctuary. So thank you for being part of this community and living those words out in your lives every day. Welcome to the newcomers among us. We know it takes a lot of courage to move into a new community and step across that threshold, and we're so glad that you've chosen us this morning, whether you're in person or online. We invite you to introduce yourselves to us in person after the service during our hospitality time and online in the chat so that we can warmly welcome you. We invite you to fill out a newcomer card in our entryways or our form online so that we can keep you up to date with all that is happening in our fellowship. I have a few announcements I want to share with the community. This is a reminder that we have hearing assistance listening devices inside each entryway. We have a hearing loop installed here in the sanctuary, and it needs a bit of repair, but it works really well on the sides of. So if that is you, and you have that T-coil and hearing loop in your hearing aid, then we encourage you to sit closer to the sides because you will access that sound a little bit better. Let's see, what are my other? Oh, hospitality gratitude. I want to thank Sara Lawson and family for being our hospitality host today, and Ilya Engel as well. As you know, we always need hospitality hosts and volunteers to make that fellowship time run and enjoy our coffee and treats together. So we invite all of you to sign up on the sign-up sheets inside the hospitality room. I want to invite everybody to join us for a beautiful art show, a retrospective of the art of Martin Wilkie, who was a beloved member of this congregation and a gorgeous artist in our community. You can see some of his art behind you there and up above the piano here. It actually is all around us in this fellowship. I know that many of you have pieces of Martin's. How many of you have a Martin Wilkie original hanging in your home? I love visiting you in your homes when I can see booth artists hanging up on your walls. It's really special. So this will be a fundraiser. We invite you to invite friends and community members and join us on Saturday, August 26th from 2 to 5 p.m. A $5 entry donation includes a raffle ticket and a chance to win one of Martin's pen and ink drawings, in addition to getting to see and purchase some of his art. I want to thank Aaron Logan for the seed of this idea and for help organizing this experience. It's been something we've been talking about for many months now since Martin's death earlier this spring. As you know, our fellowship donates 25% of our unpledged plate offering to an organization that aligns with our social justice mission. And for this month of July, we've been supporting our very own Pay It Forward Fund, which supports members and friends with financial assistance in times of crisis. But this being a fifth Sunday in July, we're expanding the reach of our community care and funds, and we're going to donate 100% of today's offering collection to help support our food pantry, which is right inside this closet here, and the purchase of gas cards for our community. We are one of the only places in town that offers gas cards to people in need in our community, and we have seen since the pandemic that need skyrocketing along with the use of our pantry. And so while many of you have been very generous with your donations of cards and food, we go through them so quickly every month. So we want to give a little bit of subsidy to kind of help keep the pantry going when it gets a little bit low and keep those gas cards available. Fred Meyer cards are the best because it's down the road and folks can choose whether to use it for gas or food. And then in our pantry, if you want to donate directly to the pantry, we really just need ready-to-eat things. Pop-top soups, stews, complete meals. We have plenty of green beans. We don't need any vegetables. But those are the things, peanut butter, those are the things that go really quickly that we find ourselves out of all the time. So for those of you that are generous, regular contributors to the pantry, thank you so much. And thank you for your generosity today. There are many ways that you can give. You can go online to our website. You can use the app on your smartphone. You can put cash and checks and envelopes right inside the drop boxes inside these doors here. For our folks online, even if you're with us out there and you're one of those smartphone users, I encourage you to take a moment right now and make your gift, or put your gift in the drop box after the service to support this worthy cause and help us continue to nurture and care for our larger community in need. Today's service explores everyday spirituality and how we might deepen our own awareness of and connection to those small but powerful moments that shift something inside us, that open us up to the depth and magic of life, those everyday spiritual experiences. And those are really the moments and the tools that we access in these times to keep us going, to keep us connected to each other, connected to ourselves, connected to that which is larger than us, so that we can continue to show up in the world and face the challenges of our time. Our sermon today is from Rick Childs. Some of you have met Rick already before. He's been here for a while, and he was a chalice lighter a few weeks back. Rick is from Mendocino, California, where he served as the lay minister for the UU Fellowship there from 2002 to 2011. He's traveled to Idaho this summer to volunteer his time in support of reproductive justice and abortion rights organizing efforts. Thanks for being with us today, Rick. So as we enter into this time of worship together, I invite us all to take a breath together. Fill your body with breath. Breathe, knowing that our breath connects us to one another, to our bodies, to our planet. Breathe, knowing our breath offers us an opportunity for stillness, to tune in to our spiritual center, to listen deeply to our heart's own longing. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning, thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-riven stranger, thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep, to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling, thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted, thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted, thou art the deathless dream.
When everything is beautiful, it's just another ordinary miracle today. The sky knew when it's time to snow, don't need a teacher seed to grow. It's just another ordinary miracle today. Life is like a gift, they say, wrapped for you every day. Open up and find a way to give some of your own. Isn't it remarkable? Like every time a raindrop falls, it's just another ordinary miracle today. disappears again at night. It's just another ordinary miracle today. It's just another ordinary miracle today.
At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in living rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalists are also lighting a flaming chalice, reminding us that we are a part of a great community of faith. As we light our chalice here in the sanctuary today for our virtual community, if you have a chalice nearby, you are invited to light your own with us this morning and then share in the chat where your chalice is lit.
With our collective chalices lit in all of our worship spaces, we offer you this call to worship from the Reverend William F. Schultz. Spirituality is not unlike catching your breath. Occasionally, the splendor of the world, someone, something, intrudes itself into life in such a way we cannot help but notice. Occasionally, the glory of the stars explodes before us so that we cannot turn away. Whatever discloses that abundance, whatever reminds us of the best we can be, whatever summons us to transform the world into ever wider channels of justice and love, this is spirituality. The best way to experience it is to pause and ponder silence. For in silence, we can feel our breath return. And occasionally, if we are very, very quiet, the wind itself may speak. Come, let us worship together.
People wouldn't mind coming and joining me up front. I accidentally untied my shoelace on the way up. Don't mind me. All right. I didn't mean to present a mystery to you, but I've presented a mystery to you. Our image for today's Time for All Ages is simply a cat being pet. And I want to tell you the story of this. Our service last week was on mindfulness, on meditation, on rooting into the present moment. And I asked our young people, what reminds you? What do you think of when I say mindful? What comes to mind? And I was surprised at the answer. It was overwhelmingly cats. Right? Of course. I listened to this response and I paused and I said, now tell me more. Tell me more about how cats remind you of mindfulness. And the answers were amazing. Holding and cuddling a cat, feeling its softness, its purr, getting into the moment, if you can imagine that. Those of you who like cats, you can imagine another soft creature if you don't like cats. It's a beautiful way to get in our bodies, but the kids didn't just list cuddling cats. They talked about the ways that cats tell you what they need and how you have to listen to that. You have to be mindful of that and interpreting their body language and meows, whether it's needing more water, needing food, needing treats, but also needing you to back off was a big part of mindfulness for our kids. They listed a lot of experiences about being told by a cat to back off. And I appreciate that the cats taught them that lesson. We have a lot of wise teachers in our everyday lives, and when we take a moment to breathe and connect with that, mindfulness is a path that we walk to be more present with those teachers, to be more present with the actions that we repeat every day. And mindfulness is a reminder that every day we have choices. Every day our actions can convey what is meaningful to us. In the spirit of sharing our multi-generational congregation's wisdom, I want to ask the room a big question. I want us to hear each other's answers. Young people, if you have a response, I will absolutely run to you. But everyone, I want to hear from not everyone, but from across our generations. What is something that you do every day? And how is it meaningful? What is something that you do every day? If you have a response, go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, Carissa.
Get up from my bed.
Okay. How can that moment be meaningful to you?
Because someday I might not.
Gratitude. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Carissa is full of wisdom. Y'all should talk to Carissa more. Chat her up. All right. What is something else that you do every day?
Every morning when I wake up, I look at a piece of art on my wall, and it says, "Today I choose joy."
That is lovely. That sounds impactful and meaningful. I think you conveyed it all in one. All right, what else?
Every morning I say the E. Cummings thank you prayer, and before I get out of bed, and then after I make my tea, I sit for 20 minutes. I call it sitting in the silence. I never feel like I meditate right, but I sit in the silence and I'm available. I say that I would like to hear anything that I need to hear. Thank you, God, for this amazing day. Yes, the leaping green leaf spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky.
Thank you. All right. Where else?
Over coffee each morning, I think about everyone that I've talked to over the week. And I think of them one by one with love and gratitude just for who they are. And it helps me feel connected to a very loving community.
Okay, I love that. I'm gonna invite you to hold your daily rituals kind of tenderly in your heart right now. I love that. I think I'll do a really brief wrap-up of a reminder coming back to petting a cat. We do so much with our beloved hands, and I want to give us a way to connect with our breath, connect with our hands, connect with the present moment. Hold your hand out in front of you, please, as you are able to. If you will take the index finger of your dominant hand, and starting at the base of your thumb, breathe in, moving to the very tip of your thumb. Breathe out, moving to the other side, right here in the crease. Breathing in, moving up the index. Breathing out, down the other side. Breathing in, up the middle finger to the top. Breathing out, down the other side. Breathing in, up the ring finger, breathing out down the other side. Breathing in, moving up the pinky, exhaling down the other side. And however you want to round out, whatever touch feels good to complete that moment, your breath and your hands are always available to you, always available for you to connect with. In our religious exploration class, which is available to all ages, truly, but specifically for our children 5 years and older, and youth as well, moving into 12th grade through the summer, all together. We are going to continue a project we started working on last week of creating a covenant banner, diving into the way that our mindfulness helps us choose how we treat other people and come into right relationship. Please join me in blessing this beloved community with song. All of us so deserving of right relationship. Sorry.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
And they're out. But I want to take a moment of gratitude for our Director of Family Ministries, Emily Emerson-Paige, who ministers to all of us and our young people so beautifully and open-heartedly with that meditation. I told them from the start of the pandemic, when Emily would tell the stories in our online services and the Wonder Board, that it was always that moment in the service for me when I got to feel ministered to. So it's just beautiful to be able to experience that. Many of you, I've told this story before, but when I was interviewing with the search committee and they asked me if I had a daily spiritual practice, and that was like 8 years ago now, so my kids were really little, and I laughed with that rueful laugh that was like, oh my God, they asked the question. And I said to them, making the bed, like Clarissa, which was true at the time, that about all that my life felt like it allowed for was the 5 minutes it took me to make my bed, which I turned into a mindfulness practice. And I still do it most days. Part of being connected to one another in beloved community is sharing ourselves with one another, sharing those mindfulness practices, sharing those deep sorrows and those delightful joys, reminding each other that we journey in this life together and not alone. So we open up a space each week to receive and carry the joys and sorrows of this gathered community. As we enter this time of joys and sorrows, our online community, you're invited to share them in the chat. I have a few I'd like to share with all of us. Some of you have already heard the news that beloved member Sue Stadler died on Friday. We hold Sue's spirit and the love of her family who surrounded her as she died, holding her hand, telling stories, playing music. We hold them in our hearts and our prayers and send them lots of love. And we do the same for Matthew Sabin, his wife Anne, and son Logan, as they mourn the loss of Matthew's mother, Margaret Sabin. Margaret was her given name, but everyone called her Becky. And she died last week. Cards and sympathies for both families are welcome and appreciated. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud, write it in the chat, invoke it into this space that we might hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all of our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain quiet and close to our hearts. May we feel the grace that surrounds us and be transformed by the spirit of life and love, with a warmth to celebrate our joys and a gentleness to soothe our aching hearts. Breathe with me. Fill your body with breath. Breathe into this sacred space. Breathe with this beloved community filled with loving kindness. Breathe with wholeheartedness. Listen to what is calling you in the silence. Amen.
Our reading this morning comes from this Everyday Spiritual Practices book. It's in our library here. It's a collection of essays written by various Unitarians over the years, discussing how ordinary things in our lives can, if we do a couple of little things, can turn them into spiritual practices that enrich not just that activity, but spread out into the rest of our lives. There's essays on yoga, of course, but also things like parenting and marriage, gardening. So this is one of the essays, Balance by Susan Manker-Seal. We can practice spirituality in our daily lives, in our daily activities, by just remembering to pause, to pay attention, and to feel appreciation for all that is before us. Paying attention means using all of our senses, being in the world and in the moment. So stop for a moment, breathe every now and then. Focus on appreciating the peace out of which you have found things. Remember the feeling of your oneness with creation and try to bring that into being. The world is full of wonder if we but stop and pay attention. It's there waiting to feed us. Each day is made up of countless moments, and each moment can become an eternity of peace, like blessings, and we count them one by one as we go through our day. So, pause for those moments every so often to listen, to look, to feel, smell, taste, and to appreciate. to feel thankful for the beauty which is all around us, even in the smallest grains of sand and the grandest blue of the sky. The mundane world around us can indeed become a source of deep spirituality. Notice it and appreciate it, for you are it, and it is you. That was so lovely. This morning we'll be looking at how, as we go through our day, the ordinary things that we're doing in life can just instantaneously shift and become super pleasures for us. As I think as everybody already, there's that sentiment, that belief is so prevalent here in our congregation. I've loved the comments that everybody has offered this morning. So, but we'll be looking at that. I'll be looking at that in our sermon a little more deeply, and building things that we can do to create more of those special spiritual experiences in our lives. As Reverend Sara said, I'm here this summer and enjoying it immensely. I do this every summer. I leave my hometown in Northern California and travel to a red state and try to help the reproductive rights cause. And I'm working this summer for doing special projects for Planned Parenthood. I've done this before, and I was in Alaska, Anchorage, a couple of years ago, and helping Planned Parenthood there, and offered a sermon to the Unitarian congregation there. And a couple that I had made contact with had invited me over to have dinner with them. And after the kids had gone to bed, we were talking about this upcoming sermon that I was going to give the following Sunday. And the lady had been raised Episcopalian, very devout parents, Sunday school every Sunday, God a big part of her childhood. And she was back at her Episcopalian church for a dedication or something like that. And before it started, the priest got up in front of everybody and said, "Let us feel God's presence here today. Let us feel his love for us. God is here in this room with us." And she shared with me how something just changed in her. All of a sudden, she felt this swelling, this glowing, just take over her body, her mind. And she was transported into a completely different space of exaltation and majesty and awe. Later, I'm back in my hometown. Last couple of decades, I've been a substitute teacher. I know not the highest calling in life, but when you live in a rural community, you do what you have to. So here I was, a substitute teacher. Normally, I teach for high school. But this day, they called me in to sub for preschool, 3- and 4-year-olds. And so we'd gone through the day, and it was now recess, and so I'm out on the playground watching the kids doing what you're supposed to, and I'm starting to enjoy. This is kind of special. You know, the boys are running their little tricycles around the track, going vroom, 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 you know. And everybody's just jumping and playing, you know, out in the sun. And this little 4-year-old came up and asked me if I would push her on the swings. Of course. So I start pushing her. And this little girl starts really enjoying it, because I guess that doesn't happen very often. And the higher I push her, the more she's squealing with just total delight. Just, oh my God, this motion and this beauty. And her pleasure, her joy in that moment of just, you know, here we are out on the playground and she's getting pushed on the swing, and it's just the most wonderful moment in her life. And all of a sudden I started feeling that too. Somehow it entered me, that just total abandonment to joy that she was feeling just penetrated into me. And I just sort of had that same experience that lady up in Alaska had. Just I was transported into a completely different space of exaltation and awe and wow, how wonderful this moment is. Lucky me. What do those two stories have in common? They both have that here we are going along in our lives, living life the way we normally do. And then in a second, that moment shifts. It explodes in some mysterious way into a huge, oh wow feeling. What happened? We know something is different. We're different. We feel different. We've entered a special part of life that has a beauty, a power, and a transcendence that just takes us over. I think they're some of the best natural highs that life can offer. And I'm guessing everyone here has had similar experiences. Things go into slow motion. Time seems to stop. The ordinary suddenly becomes exalted and majestic, and a glow seems to just permeate everything. It passes, but we're left altered and feeling radiantly alive for some time to come, feeling that words just can't quite describe. And then years later, that experience, we can recall it vividly. The details etched deeply into our minds. Let me offer that those special moments which transform us and deliver us into that different state of being are, I believe, spiritual in nature. Spiritual experiences that we've been given. Why spiritual? Let's step back from this for a moment and look at just what spirituality itself is. I think if we asked 100 people what it is, we'd come up with probably 100 different answers. Something hard to describe, but as they say, you know it when you feel it. Those experiences, my friend feeling God, and my feeling the delight and ecstasy that that little girl on the swing have a very common denominator. In both instances, who we were, our egos, dissolved a bit. And who we were merged with this something, this whatever outside ourselves. Who we were merged with something outside ourselves. The Buddhists have a wonderful way of expressing it. A spiritual experience happens when you become one with what you are doing. When who we are connects in a deep way and fuses in some outside thing. My friend in Alaska felt a oneness with God. I, a oneness with that little girl's raw joy in life itself. I think her experience was probably more rapturous, but I kind of liked mine better because it was human-based. So what exactly constitutes those special moments, those spiritual experiences? We know they just seem to happen. We can't predict them. We certainly can't will them. They just arrive unexpectedly and then pass, having filled us with rich, how good to be alive moments. We're in a whole different space, our lives possibly even altered. It's important to note that these spiritual experiences come in all different shapes and sizes. Most, of course, are smaller, a delightful spiritual moment that pops up in our day, in which we're beautifully merging ourselves with something outside ourselves, but less dynamically. I'd like to focus this morning on those simpler, smaller ones, because they're both more common and, more importantly, they're easier for us to create. those beautiful, filling spiritual moments in our lives. They can arrive at any time. For example, can you recall listening to a really beautiful piece of music and feeling changed by it? Perhaps like this morning. Were you drawn into it? How about when you were creating something, losing yourself fully into a writing project, for example, or gardening, or making a beautiful meal, or commonly out in nature, quietly absorbing its magnificence and actually feeling a oneness with it in some transformative way. But most of those special moments, those spiritual experiences, happen and which can change our lives the most, occur in our interactions with each other, our loved ones, friends, and sometimes even strangers. Can you remember a moment like that with someone? Here you are, just having a nice conversation or doing something together, and then something just shifts. Maybe a smile, maybe a comment that the other offers, somehow looking into each other's eyes, perhaps. And who you are and what you mean to each other takes on a deeper and more glorious richness and joy. You feel drawn into each other's souls, so deeply connected, a glow enveloping both of you for a few moments. If only we could create those wonderful moments whenever we wanted to. We can't, of course, but we don't have to live with just waiting for them to arrive. There are things that we can do that open the door wider for them to enter into our lives and for them to happen even more richly when they do arrive. Bookstores have shelves and shelves of self-help and spirituality books loaded with ideas, new paths for creating more spiritual moments in our more spiritual lives. But may I offer here two relatively easy things that we can do that will create that fertile field for these special moments to drop into. The first is, rather simply noticing them as they happen. Something in our human nature always wants to keep processing on with life. Finish that, move on. And we Americans are especially good at accomplishing. But that means brushing by and likely noticing that something really sweet just happened. So that sweet thing disappears unappreciated and forgotten into our history. Suppose instead that we're able to cultivate an awareness that's more sensitive to our own lives and tuned into noticing when those special moments arrive. Can you imagine the difference? Like not just having a shower and getting clean, but delighting as those water droplets sensuously touch our skin. Not just a nice hug with someone, but letting that good feeling linger and deepen into our bodies. Not just exercising, but noticing the beauty and the glory of our physical bodies and the movement that exercise creates for them. Not just listening to Rachmaninoff or Martineau, but allowing yourself to get sucked into it. Its incredible sensual beauty. As we recall that wonderful Buddhist adage, a spiritual experience happens when you merge with it and become one with it. Developing the practice of noticing those special moments as they're happening, will certainly bring greater joys and a much greater appreciation of life. The ability that we develop to notice those moments can become easier and more instinctive with another complementary practice. Remember reading earlier this morning and the author suggesting putting pauses into our day? Getting off the treadmill of life, everything always moving forward, even for just a minute or so, can open us up to those wonderful spiritual experiences that are right there waiting for us to appreciate. She suggests pausing, just taking a few, several short breaks in the day, even for just a minute or two, and letting that moment of quietude work its magic. So every now and then, stop, breathe, let your mind come to a gentle rest, emptying it of whatever you were doing, and watch how you come back refreshed and so much more open to feeling those spiritual experiences when they arrive and get noticed. I think a really nice time to take a pause is after we've just experienced one of those moments. Here you are, ordinary life, shopping at Albertsons, but you had this pleasant, warm exchange with the checker. Neat, you realize. So instead of just moving on groceries to the car, consider instead taking just a few seconds to pause, reflect on that exchange, and let its warmth sink more deeply into you. I think you'll find that smile on your face will linger on a little bit longer. So, being aware of, noticing those special moments is the first of two practices, easy practices that I think we can develop to create more of them. And in a few moments, Reverend Sara will lead us in a meditation that will let us all reconnect with one of those so good to be alive moments that you've recently experienced. But the second practice to help facilitate these, and which produces similar benefits, is that wonderful spiritual practice of gratitude. You may have heard its wonderful expression, gratitude, the gift that keeps on giving. It applies here as well, especially here. Let me share a practice I was once told about in a Buddhist retreat, and which has made a nice difference in my life. It's real easy, feels real good, and I'm convinced helps me keep my life moving forward into much better places. Every night, before going to sleep, I take a few minutes to review my day. The goal, finding 2 moments that stood out that I can say, I was glad to be alive, to have had today, and to enjoy that particular moment, that experience. As that little girl said, I know someday I'll be dead and I won't be able to have that wonderful moment. The wisdom of children. But lucky me, I did have that moment. And I'm grateful that today I was able to have that. Things that pop up for me might be some really beautiful music that filled me. The exquisite joy that I get from a run in our beautiful foothills that I just love so much. The warmth of a really fine conversation with a good friend. Writing something that I feel especially proud of. A belly laugh that I get watching an old Seinfeld rerun. What does recalling those 2 special moments in my day do for me? Besides giving me a better night's sleep, which I think happens, the main benefit is that it keeps my gratitude machine well-oiled. One which is the best spiritual practices, I think, we all know for creating a continually growing and happy life. But also, importantly, it strengthens my ability for noticing whenever life's beautiful moments arrive. The practice of noticing and appreciating them the night before, as you can imagine, definitely makes me much more likely to notice and appreciate them when they're happening. Which is, of course, what we all want. Having wonderful things just that keep happening and bubbling up in our lives that we enjoy, that we love, that we notice, and which keeps us going forward into the day that much more alive and connected to all the beauty life has awaiting for us. So I think adding that little practice, finding 2 moments in the day, at the end of the day, that you're grateful to be alive for, to have had. I'm fairly sure you'll find a richer happiness with life coming down the pike. It may take a few days for that process of finding those 2 glad to be alive moments to appear to you. And I add, don't worry if they seem like little insignificant things, like how nice the bed feels underneath you. Maybe the insignificant things are all we need to prompt the process of noticing the nicer, bigger things. So again, we can increase the number and the richness of all those special moments that arrive in our lives and give us such joy every day with those 2 little practices: taking pauses and slowing down when we can, and adding gratitude for the joys we're given every day. Keep that process rolling forward. And lastly, may I offer this final tribute to the beauty of our having and now our creating those spiritual experiences. Wonderful and life-enhancing as they are in and of themselves, the benefits, of course, don't stay with us. They flow outward because they change us, because they put a glow in our life, just like a stone in a pond sending ripples outward. That precious, how very good to be alive feeling in us can't help but seep out of our being, naturally radiating out and giving beautiful vibes of happiness and connection to everyone that we come in contact with. And isn't that one of the very definitions of a spiritual life? Discovering ways to create more joy in our lives and sharing that with to bless others.
Thank you, Rick, for those words and that reminder. And I'm going to invite us all to practice together a little bit in this time of meditation. And so as we move our bodies into this time of meditation, I'm going to invite you to reach up if you're able to. If you're not able to stretch all the way wide, you can just go straight up. Take a big breath with your arms wide open. Let the breath come all the way into your body so that you are creating some space to connect with spirit and spirituality. Find that comfortable space for a time of meditation and reflection. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and breathe. I invite you to take some nice deep breaths on each inhale. Feel the breath expanding your body, moving through you, particularly opening up that heart center. And on the exhale, I invite you to let go of whatever you don't need to have with you in this moment, whatever burdens or frustrations or minor irritations you might be carrying. Just let them go for now. You can pick them up later. Breathe in space. And as you continue to deepen your breath, releasing that tension in your body, I invite you to recall to mind a recent spiritual moment, however small, however you define that for yourself. A moment when you felt that unexpected, even momentary shift or opening. That spark of aliveness and connection, or wondrous awe, or deep peace, or overflowing love. Bring yourself back to that moment, wherever it was. Notice your surroundings. What's around you? Who's with you? What do you hear and see? Keep breathing. Notice how you feel. Notice where that spark, that shift, that feeling is located in your body. And on each inhalation, let that feeling expand and grow and move through you. Let it move down through your abdomen and legs and feet and into the earth. That feeling, that deep connection. Let it move up your spine and neck and out the top of your head, down your arms and out your fingertips. Let it become a part of you. Allow yourself to continue to open and soften. And from that place of openness, let in that beauty of the moment wherever you are. Let in the beauty of you, the joy, the love, the peace, the ease of just being. Sink into all of that and let it fill you with gratitude on each breath. Honoring that moment in yourself for the experience that has become part of you. Gently bring yourself back into this space, into the chair. into wherever you are sitting. Give yourself a couple more deep breaths of centering. Open your eyes when you are ready. Maybe you'd like to rub your hands together or on your thighs or whatever you need to just kind of let that energy settle in your body. Blessed be. I'm going to continue the practice together in song, inviting us to sing together, which is often a time when we can tune in to that magical spiritual feeling. We're going to sing hymn 123, Spirit of Life. The words will be on the screen. You'll hear Carrie play it through one time as an introduction. Then I'll invite us to sing together the lyrics. And then I'll invite us just to listen again one more time. You can hum or ooh, put your hand on your heart, and just allow the music to be with you. Let us rise in body or spirit. Beautiful. I invite you to place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing. Take a moment to look around at the beautiful spirits here in this room on this journey of life with you. Let us welcome these ordinary moments and ordinary miracles of deep, wondrous experience. When life offers up its beauty and splendor, its abundant joy and overflowing love. And let us pause in the stillness and silence to notice and give thanks for the spirituality we can create every day. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.